welcome back. I'm Amy Hogan, and this is the Commodities Dig. I feel like recently I've only been bringing you guys bad news. Perhaps I should start showing you clips of the top 5 cat videos on YouTube or share with you like the best ice cream flavors from Ben & Jerry's, but unfortunately today we're talking about the performance of junior mining companies over the past year. Annually, PwC looks at the performance of the top 100 junior mining companies listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange. And this year, the market cap dropped from $20.5 billion in 2012 to $6.5 billion in 2013, a dramatic decrease. Joining me today to shed some more light on some of the key highlights that we were able to analyze in our report is James Lusby, a partner in our mining practice and a key contributor to our report. James, thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem, Amy.
So what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Strawberry.
Strawberry. I'm a big Oreo cookie fan. But anyways, on a more serious note, can you kind of give me an overview of what's been going on in the junior mining sector over the past year?
For sure. It's been a very turbulent time from a mining perspective, and we've seen our junior companies really struggle continuously for this last year. That's really rolled over from the last 2 years, really, where we've seen the market capitalization of companies from 2011 to now significantly decrease. They're at the lowest levels they've been now for a number of years, and companies really are struggling to survive. We've seen companies really cut back a lot on their expenditures just because they don't have the cash resources on hand these days to be able to continue with a lot of their programs. The key area that they've really struggled in is generating financing. And as a lot of companies have fled from a lot of companies are not investing in mining companies at the current time, it really makes it very difficult for companies to generate financing in equity markets. And
I think in the report you note that 2011 was a top year for financing with juniors. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2011 was a good year. It was after the crash from 2008 and 9. The commodities markets came back. 2011 was a bumper year, and companies were out generating a lot of cash with equity financings. Over the last 2 years, though, that's really dried up. Companies have looked to try and think of alternative financing. Some of the companies have tried to get debt financing, and as a proportion of total financing, it is increased.
Now, is debt financing kind of an unusual thing for junior mining companies? Don't most try and stay away from that?
It is. Only a few of them are able to actually enter that market, because often when you try and get debt financing, you've got to have production to be able to back it up. And obviously most of the junior space don't have production to be able to support that the debt repayments.
How are graduation rates right now?
Graduation rates are pretty similar year over year. It's actually very interesting. One of the surprising things when looking at the report was how few companies have actually gone under. And if you go back 12 months, a lot of analysts...
Gone under meaning like dropped off the exchange, delisted?
Or delisted or gone bankrupt. And a lot of analysts were thinking that out of the 1,500 or so mining companies in Canada, you may have seen 20-30% of those companies not in existence 12 months, i.e. around now.
Right.
But the number of companies out of the TSXV who are no longer in there from 12 months ago is only around 3%. It's about 30 companies are no longer there compared to the year before.
Yeah, that's a lot less than what I think most people would have expected. Is that because 2011 was such a strong year for companies being able to raise financing?
It's partly that, but I think a lot of companies are really now just focusing on preserving cash. So they are cutting back on discretionary expenditures. They're really cutting back on a lot of corporate costs and trying to just conserve the cash that they have to weather out the storm. You've got to understand, obviously, there's a lot of people here who have built up these junior companies, and there's a lot of pride in the industry that they don't want to give up on what they've invested in. So companies are trying to hang on to survive, weather through the economic storm that's out there. Hopefully the commodities come back, and therefore the companies can then start going out into the market and generating some cash again.
Yeah, and we've been talking about it to like exhaustion, that there just aren't buyers right now. The seniors aren't there buying, so these poor juniors are kind of, like you said, holding on for dear life. What about, this is something interesting that I noted in the report, were the number of write-downs that junior mining companies had declared.
There are a number
that.
of there are a number of companies who have had write-downs,
Yeah.
and from a junior perspective, they do capitalise the exploration costs. Well, the majority do. We did a study a year ago, and on conversion to the IFRS accounting standards, about 80% of the companies continue to capitalise their exploration cost. Around 20 took a policy to expense these costs. So the majority of companies do have a large number on their books for their exploration projects, which means now when you come along to a time and you stop, you've got to cherry pick what your best projects are to continue to invest in, and some of the less attractive projects get put to the side. Those are the companies now which the projects now which then get written off, just because the companies can't continue to invest in all of their projects to move them forward.
Okay. What about the cash position of the top 100? Is it what you expected it to be?
Given where the lack of financing is, probably yes,
Yeah.
that it is significantly lower. I think if you look at the cash balances, a lot of companies are at they've either conserved and they have cash in their books, or they're at the stage where they're getting to desperation stakes. A lot of companies have been cutting back costs for over 12 months now, and if they have to survive another 12 months, they may be at the stage where they're forced into merge with an equal to try and survive, or try and look to be bought out and effectively end up delisting themselves as an entity.
Okay. Now, I know when I was talking to some of the top 5 junior mining companies this year, it seemed like all of them had different strategies for raising money. Some were getting money from their key shareholders, which is a really nice luxury to have, and maybe we'll see more of that going forward. Others were looking at offtake agreements. One of the companies was able to secure a big piece of financing from the Brazilian government. Like, it just seems like there's not really a trend in financing. The trend is more being creative and going after whatever available funds there are. What do you expect to see in financing in 2014?
You could expect that to continue, but I think some of the meetings you'll have had were with the larger companies on the TSXV.
Right.
So where those companies have either production or are in significantly through development, they've got a larger market capitalization, they've got more ability to go and have a number of those discussions to seek out alternative financing. Okay. If you look at the large number of companies on the venture exchange, they may not have that luxury and the ability to go and source out alternative financing. Okay. A lot of people thought royalties may be a way to fund companies, but we haven't seen the royalty business really get into a lot of the juniors from an exploration perspective, because there's a lot of risk from a development perspective, and royalty companies are wanting to see a return on the money, and so they're looking for development or production stage entities to invest in.
Actually, that is one thing that I was speaking with Nolan Watson from Sandstorm Gold recently, and he said his shareholders were giving him the message, no more deals unless they can generate cash quickly. Like, try and shorten the time period between when you do the deal and when you're able to generate cash as quickly as possible. And juniors often aren't even in production, so that just tends not to be an option for them.
And I think we see that as well. There's a number of companies wanting to start up in the royalty space,
right? But
they can't just go and sign a royalty on any mining venture. They need to find something with production to really start off as a company to get going.
I wanted to ask you, who do you think will recover sooner? Will it be the seniors or will it be the juniors, or do you think mid-tier companies will really come out as the stars in this interesting time we've been having in mining?
I think, unfortunately for the junior space, they'll be last to the table when the financing comes back.
I said this was a depressing interview. Yeah.
I think the seniors are probably going to be able to get out into the market and raise money first. I think they'll have the ability to go and get that liquidity they need. Yeah. It will be interesting to see, once they do get some of the liquidity back, as and when the market returns, will they first of all go and look to sort out their own financial position, sort out some of their debt positions? Will they then look to try and maybe buy some of the juniors who still haven't been able to raise financing? So it may be, if the seniors come out of the issues first, they may then look to, if they are wanting to buy anything, there may be the appetite on some of the juniors to pick up some of the projects very cheaply. That said, we do know that the large companies have been beaten up a lot recently because of acquisitions at inappropriate times. So they may steer clear of going out and buying anything just because they don't want to be accused of buying at the wrong time in the market again.
Okay. Well, James, thank you again so much for your time. Sounds like a very interesting report.
Yeah, very much so. So thanks, Amy.
Great. This has been the Commodities Dig. I'm Amy Hogan. Until next time.